Glucerna, everyday progress.
Let's just say I'm not like normal people. The thing about me, I have no eyelashes or eyebrows. I don't have cancer or any sickness like that, but I do have a mental problem. It's called trichotillomania. Trichotillomania is a mental problem that people can get through stress or through birth. And basically what it does is it sends chemical reactions to your brain and tells the body to pull out hair from a certain part of the body. For me, it was my eyelashes and my eyebrows. A lot of people kind of stare at me sometimes when I walk in a public place. I even hear them whispering. I hate it. I also hate it when friends ask me why I don't have them. Well, I explain it to them. They act like they understand, but I can tell they're weirded out. I guess it's just something that makes me unique. Something that makes me stand out from everyone else. But I know I'm never going to be able to put on makeup and stuff and look like a diva. What sucks the most is that my parents try everything to help me stop, but nothing's working. I got microblading. Microblading is kind of like tattooing, only I think it's less painful, but it was more painful for me because I don't have tattoos. I also have fake eyelashes that I can apply to my lids, but seeing how I have nothing there, it's really hard. I'm going to school and hopefully I can pull off the look. I mean, I know people will like me because who I am inside, and I just hope my appearance doesn't affect that in any way. So, I guess I'm just the girl with no eyelashes or eyebrows. But that's okay. That's what makes me unique.
I never knew what it was like to have a normal family. Because ever since I was young, I had a father who was never there for me. I have a wonderful mother who is always there to support me and comfort me. However, I can't say the same for my father. He was an alcoholic, and because of it, I paid a lot for the damage and pain it brought. I couldn't just be normal. I couldn't invite my friends to my house because I was scared my father would be drunk and that he would embarrass me in front of them. I was often jealous of my friends because they had dads who were there to be a part of their lives. My dad was rarely a part of my life. He was often not even home, and when he wasn't in his right state of mind because he was drunk. And even when he wasn't drinking, he shut me and my family out of his life. He would stay in his room watching TV or playing video games almost all of the time that he was home. It was as if I had been replaced by a computer. This gave me low self-esteem growing up because I felt unimportant. It broke me down, and I was often scared to come home because I knew what awaited me was only a torn family. I remember one night, I was sitting at our kitchen table while my mom was cooking dinner, and I could hear my dad teasing my sister from upstairs, and I could tell he was drunk because his words were slurred. She finally couldn't take it anymore, and she screamed at him, "Stop it, you're drunk!" Me and my mom were just in shock that my sister had stood up to him. My dad yelled at her and accused her that my mom had told her that he was drunk. Then he proceeded to stomp downstairs to where my mom was standing in the kitchen. He yelled at her. I was sobbing, hunched over in my chair, when he snatched a glass bowl off the table and slammed it to the ground. He stared coldly at me, as if I didn't matter. He stomped back up the stairs and slammed the door. I didn't see him for what felt like weeks. A few years later, he was arrested under charges of domestic violence and child abuse. He had never physically hurt me, but he had said so many damaging things that by the time he was arrested, I had such a low self-esteem and self-worth that it was actually a relief to see him go. However, my father was released the next day, and he actually came back home after about a month of living with my grandpa. My dad started drinking again after returning, and I actually began to stand up to him. I told him, "This isn't okay, and I would really appreciate if you try to quit." But he didn't listen to me. Those few months he lived with us after being arrested was one of the hardest times in my life. Then one day, my mom just had enough, and she kicked him out, followed by a divorce. I have been slowly recovering, and after months, I realized that I am important, and I do matter, and no one should ever have to feel like they are unimportant because someone makes them feel like they are worthless. I'm scared because soon I have to face my dad again for court reasons, but I know in my heart that I am strong and that I will have the strength to stand up to him.
There are people in our lives that make us feel safe and loved and respected. And then for some of us out there are people in our lives that are supposed to make us safe and loved and respected, but they don't do their job. My entire life, I've had a wonderful father who has made so many sacrifices for me and taken care of me so that I could have a better future. Unfortunately, I can't say the same about my mother. From a young age, I was always ridiculed, teased, and taunted by my mom. And whenever I did something wrong, I wasn't properly sat down and disciplined. I was yelled at and smacked even sometimes. I grew up with a very low self-esteem because my mom would say things like, "You're terrible, I don't like you, I don't love you at all. I think that you're a big burden to this family. What sin could I have possibly committed to have had you as a kid?" And she thought that all of these words would just brush over and that I would realize that she somehow didn't mean them. But she said them so many times that I don't think she doesn't believe them. In fact, I'm quite sure that she means everything that she says. And as a result, it has lowered my self-esteem and my self-worth, and it has made me do things like cutting and inflicting self-harm. As a young adult, even now, I suffer with this. Of course, I've stopped inflicting self-harm, but I have struggled with my self-worth so much. Whenever I look into the mirror, I can't see a girl that I love and appreciate. I can't see somebody that is strong and independent. I see someone who's weak and who's been broken and shattered by a negative influence all her life. To those of you out there who are struggling because of some negative influence in your life, whether it be your parents or an ex-best friend or an ex-boyfriend or a bully or anything, please remember that you're not alone, that you don't deserve to suffer this way, and nobody should be able to say that to you. You are wonderful, compassionate human beings, and you have so much to offer this world. Don't let this negative influence take over your life anymore.
So this incident happened when I was in high school, when I was a sophomore. My boyfriend at the time, which is my boyfriend still right now, had a weed brownie that he got from that morning from his cousin. And he freaked out because he saw the canine unit in front of the school and he thought that he was going to be caught. So I said, okay, let's take it. And I was foolish because I have never taken a weed brownie before. So I didn't know how they worked or how they affect you. So we took it and I took a little less than half and I felt fine at the moment. I thought it was an instant thing. So we walked to first period, and which was PE. And we were playing tennis when I started feeling a little woozy and I was laughing at everything. And once first period ended, I went to the girls' locker room, and once I got in there, the whole room started going in circles. I started getting dizzy and I felt like I was on a boat. And I told my friend, oh my God, I think the brownie hit. And she was like, really? And I'm like, yes. And I couldn't stand straight. I was freaking out. So I walked to second period and my mouth started getting so dry instantly as if there was sandpaper in my mouth. I sat down in my second period and again, the whole room started going around and around and in slow motion. My teacher walked up to me in slow motion and he said, are you okay? And I said, no, can I please go to the nurse? I was just freaking out on the way. And once I got to the nurse, they sat me down and gave me ice cold water. And my arm just jerked and I accidentally threw the water on the floor and the nurses got mad and I started crying. And they asked me, what do you feel? Have you taken any medication? And me, being in not the right state of mind, said, I took a weed brownie this morning. So they freaked out and they called the vice principal in. And the vice principal was mad. She had a stern look on her face and I don't remember anything she told me to this day. But all I remember was holding her hand because I thought I was going to fall off the 2-foot chair I was sitting on. I just remember seeing myself out of my body. And once my mom got there to pick me up, she didn't know what was going on. And when she found out, she was so mad. And on the way home, I was crying and sobbing. And still, everything was going in slow motion. Me and my grandma at the time were in a fight. And once I got home, I just ran to her and hugged her and cried and said, I'm sorry, I was wrong, I'm sorry. And the whole day, I just felt the same way I did in the morning. Do I regret it? Yes, at school. But do I regret it? No, because if it wasn't for that brownie, I probably would have still not talked to my grandma. And that helped rekindle our relationship. So please don't do drugs, kids, especially at school, because you would have a really bad reaction like I did.